have done is we looked at the signal. WLNB is covered in cable systems in this area. And we checked the signal level that would be transmitted to the head-end stations that carry their coverage. And we found that in each case, their signal will be able to be picked up and put on those cable systems with excellent video at a level that will allow them to distribute it to their subscribers. That concludes my remarks, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have some, but I don't want it to be first. You guys can answer?
Yeah, but I have a couple of questions. And I don't think it's ever
Turn the light
changed.
back on? Do we need to turn
It has never changed, and I go back to this, you say that only 10% of the people have their TVs running off actually towers and stuff. I want to know, nothing's ever changed about the frequencies, AM, FM. AM is one of those things that bounces off. FM is a direct. Is this not true? And then we lose, no matter who wants to watch television, if they got a tower out here, they get it off of. I can't understand if they want to keep that and they don't want to afford the cable and something else that everybody else has got. Why should we interfere with those people with these with mills?
Well, I guess you're wondering, the point is this, that even with the wind turbines in place, the off-air transmission from WLNB will be received. If you're receiving on an off-air system, you will be able to receive it.
Well, is that just you're just doing WLNB?
Oh no, let me just say this. We addressed that one because WLNB has presented a number of reports that show that their coverage would be greatly affected.
In this area, and that's one of the concerns that a lot of people have, and myself too, that if these are in place, and they have quite a few neighbor of mine, even it's close here in the town, and other guys that are out here, we've talked about the reception that they have on their TVs, and they just use their tower that, they've always used, instead of having cable. And they get all kinds of these new stations, even with the HD TVs and all that, with the converter or with the converter box. Mm-hmm. And they're more concerned, will this interfere with those people when they put these in? Will that monkey up their TV, and that's one of the real concerns that they have. I've heard
well,
that.
We're going to analyze that, but we don't have the position of the turbines at this time, but that will be evaluated. That's true.
But then can you guarantee that won't bother? I mean, I don't care whose TV it is out here. Can you guarantee that that's not going to bother his TV though? You can't guarantee that, can you?
You'll have to know where the turbines are going to be and where the reception point is in order to do that. We don't have all the information we need right now.
I have one point. You mentioned the signal is reduced, but still good enough to produce good video. How much is it reduced, and what level do you need to provide good video?
The level stated by the FCC is 35 dB above a microvolt per meter. The level that will be received after the wind turbines are built in the project area is something like 60 dB above a microvolt per meter. So it's well above the level. And even at 40 miles, it was still above that 35 dB above a microvolt per meter.
I have a question for you. You mentioned something about radio transmission and possibly having to add added repeaters,
Yes.
okay? In your experience, how often was that necessary?
How often was it
Yeah.
necessary?
I mean, in other
You know,
projects.
in all of the cases I've been involved in, I don't think we've ever added a repeater.
Oh, okay.
It's a mitigation technique, but it never became necessary.
Because you were able to reposition the towers?
No, because the coverage wasn't that effective.
Okay.
Because when you're talking about land mobile radio
Right.
or cellular phones, generally speaking, the beam widths are so wide, and the way the systems are networked, you switch from one
Right.
base station or one repeater to another, and it's done automatically. It's sort of
It
not something.
surges.
Yeah, it's something you don't notice.
Right.
You had one? If there's a necessary for a repeater, we say mitigation, that means the cell tower company and the wind people argue over who's gonna pay for it?
Well, there might be an argument over that. I guess that's something to discuss. But one thing that some of the wind developers in discussing that would say, we're going to have a Met tower built. If you want to put a repeater on our Met tower, because we have to put the Met tower up anyway, you can use it. You would need another base station for, you know, a cellular system. We have a tower, and we'd be more than happy to, you know, make it available to you. And that is a mitigation we sort of recommend, because you have structures in, you know, within the wind development area that you can use as platforms for antennas.
Now, are you from DC?
Outside of DC, I'm from Virginia.
Like, around here, if you have Verizon and you want to talk on Verizon at my house, you have to go out and sit in the driveway. And so, you know, a lot of places we don't have this, extra towers, so to speak. And same way with some of the other companies. It's like last night, I don't know why, but we weren't getting any signals last night, and probably because of the rain or cold or what, I don't know. But, so, you know, in theory, this add another repeater is a easy thing to do, but we've got a bare number out here in some places, even though we don't live in North Dakota. It seems like we don't have the coverage that we would, and I know Jeff and I was talking, you know, sometimes right now our cell reception isn't very good, and for it to even to get 20% less is gonna upset me. My other question is on the, I'm trying to write these down while you were putting these in here. Does anybody else got any questions?
I have another question
Go ahead.
for you. You talked about FM band, and then the signal is larger than the FM band.
Channel 5.
Channel.
has a-
Yes. So how wide, so when it's larger than, can you tell me,
Channel 5's wavelength is 12.5 feet.
well,
Yeah. FM is roughly about 9.5 feet. And one of the good things, when you have a wavelength that long, it penetrates buildings very effectively. It's when those wavelengths get real small that you get reflections and it doesn't penetrate buildings. That's why it's very difficult to get some of the higher frequencies into a place like cellular, for example. Has a smaller wavelength, and sometimes you can't pick up a cellular in a house, as you were saying, you had to go out in your driveway, or like in a more heavily populated area, like in the Washington, D.C. area, many times in the basement of the building, unless they put special antennas in, they take the signal from outside the building and then distribute it. It's called a distributed antenna system. You won't get cellular coverage in the basements of the building because the wavelengths are so small, unless you do something special like that.
So I take it that in your position, you have some sort of a license, is that correct? Are you licensed by somebody?
Not exactly licensed, but
in other words, you know, we're all farmers and school teachers and stuff like that, and how do we know that all this stuff is going to be done the correct way? In other words, who's accountable? I mean, FCC, are they involved?
the FCC is not involved because the FCC has no jurisdiction over the building of wind turbine towers.
No, I mean the signal interference and all
Well,
this.
they are involved in signal interference. And one of the reasons that wind turbines don't interfere, remember I mentioned that there is no electromagnetic interference from a wind turbine to repeaters or cell phones or things of that nature. Now, you know, when you drive under a power line with an AM radio, it buzzes. You'll always hear a buzz. You've heard that, I'm sure. That's because AM, there's nothing you can do about the harmonics of 60 cycle getting into the receiver. And so that happens. But when it comes to devices, the FCC requires that generators and things of that nature, they're called unintentional emitters. They cannot emit interference that will affect communication devices. So all of the wind turbines that are built have to meet that criteria for unintentional emission. But what a person builds on his property, for example, if somebody was to build an apartment building on their property, and it happened to obstruct a microwave station, that person is totally in their right. The FCC would have no way of stopping that individual. However, a zoning board or a local area could say, we're not going to give you the building permit to do that because you're going to affect that microwave station. And I believe that is the kind of power you guys have.
Right, but I mean, we don't know all this stuff. In other words,
Right.
we're at someone's mercy. In other words, that's what I was saying. I was wondering if you were licensed so that you're like an agent, that you make sure that all the rules are followed.
Well, we do that I'm NARDI certified. That's the National Association of Radio and Television Engineers.
Okay.
From a professional standpoint, just as a teacher, or just as a person who is in a profession, I am going to do the best I can to come up with the solutions that will make everything turn out the way it should, turn out.
Okay.
And certainly, my reputation and my standing and my self-image, would be at risk if I didn't do it in a proper way.
What about satellite? Is it just the physical presence of the windmill interfering with the satellite?
For satellite communications,
For
when you-
TV?
well, TV, if you're
TV.
receiving, over a satellite, as long as the turbine blades do not cause a physical obstruction, those signals are extremely low level, so you don't want to attenuate them at all. And at those frequencies, the attenuation would be quite high, because the wavelengths are so
So
small.
how do you get around those?
Well, the thing is, you don't build, you site your wind turbines so it will not be in the path of a satellite receiver.
And what
Or
does
if
that
there
happen?
was a satellite receiver, you'd reposition it. You know, if you had an antenna, you'd have to move it over.
So you contact, so if they're gonna build they're gonna put a wind tower on, off of Rogers Highway, you're gonna call up everybody on Rogers Highway and say, do you have satellite or dish or cable, or how do you know all that stuff?
If you're gonna build it right at the, well, first of all, you're restricted, you can't go it too close to the.
Well, you're gonna build, assuming we're building in the right spot on Rogers Highway, so, you know, we're gonna look at everybody on the north side of, on the northern side of Rogers Highway, because the dishes, the satellites are all to the southern sky. So we're gonna contact all the people on the north side of Rogers Highway and Delmo Road that live, and see if they have direct TV or dish or whatever.
Well, if they